Ciao creative friends, my name is Joey Balestrieri. Welcome to my work table and welcome to the third episode of my video series called Joey's Jewelry Box. About once a month, I am going to repair, redesign, or upcycle a piece of jewelry. And this month, I am working on this necklace that I purchased at Goodwill probably a year ago or so. It was $6.99, which is a little bit more than I usually pay. But I have to preface this redesign by saying that I actually like this piece quite a lot as it is. It's very long and dramatic, and I love the sound of the little baubles at the bottom. The only thing was with this, there were a few of the links where the tarnish was a little bit, where are they now? As I examined it, there was one or two of these links that I just felt like needed attention, and I am going to cut this apart and I'll save those because I have other ways of repairing tarnish. But I also loved the chain on this piece. This is just a very classic oval link chain, but there's a little bit of like diamond cutting or embossing on both sides of every single link, and it is not tarnished. And even the lobster claw clasp looks great. And I am not sure if this is Sarah Coventry. I'm not sure whose little star charm this is, or it might just be an off-brand. I really don't know. If any of you recognize it, you can definitely let me know in the comments. It doesn't matter. I just think it's lovely, and it's not tarnished either. So I'm just going to pull in my sketchbook because as I sat, let me spread this out so that you can see. As I sat and looked at this piece, I believe that I can get three really beautiful, more updated, not quite so 70s vibe pieces of jewelry from this necklace. So the first piece, I want to utilize the chain that is already here, and I want to just add in some little bead stations just to break up the chain a little bit. And I want to take one of these flat links and make that as a drop, and then I'm going to do something creative with the three drops here, this one, and this one, that only have a connector at the top. This one is dimensional, but it is a connector top and bottom. So I'm going to kind of pull apart, harvest those three for this design. And I even think I'm going to reuse the little charm that's on the back of the chain. And then one of the big fashion trends in jewelry for 2024, which I happen to love, I am getting out my older ones that I've even had from the 80s, are nice bold cuffs. So I'm going to create a cuff bracelet with two of these segments, and it's going to be the two that, this one has to come out because this one has connectors on both sides. No, this one has to come out. I'm sorry. These are the two that I plan to use to make this cuff bracelet. And so I just did like a little sketch here, and I'm going to make some bar connectors for the middle. And then I think I'm going to do this as like a beaded chain, 3 different sections of beaded chain. So it's going to have the look of a cuff bracelet, but be articulated. You know, it won't be a solid cuff, but have that nice wide, also bold look, which is a big trend for 2024. So I'm really excited about making that. I haven't worked out exactly my closure for that, for the 3 strands closing, but I'll figure it out as I go. And then I've already done this bracelet. This was one of my redo. I think this was episode 2 in my series, this little sketch. So this bracelet is done, and I can link that video below if you didn't see it. It's really, really beautiful. It's one of my favorite pieces of jewelry that I've ever made. So that's saying something because I make a lot of jewelry. So this is the sketch for the other piece. I'm going to take that leftover center component and create some drops from the 3 connectors. And I'm just going to do either chain or leather, something creative. I want to create a bead component where this metal bar comes onto this. And I did a little note here because there are little holes, you know, a little like grid in these sections, and I may be able to get some fine gauge wire and wrap some beads in there. So I am planning to get 3 pieces of jewelry out of this. Of course, my designs are subject to change once I jump in, but that is my plan. And the other thing, I have already set up a cardboard box on the patio, and I plan to take some clear Krylon and spray coat the parts of this that are not tarnished. Seems to be a really high quality piece of fashion jewelry, but I am going to give it a coat of Krylon so that once I do my redesign, that none of the pieces will tarnish. I love to use my Permalac brush on coating that I get from Potomac Beads for smaller pieces, like if I were to rescue a piece of jewelry and I just wanted to coat the clasp. This is perfect, but for such a large piece, chain and everything, I am going to go out, place this inside a little 3-sided cardboard box, and just give it a light spray of clear Krylon. So that is my plan, and I am going to start by disconnecting and just taking this apart. So let's dive in. I was looking at these jump rings. They are really nice, sturdy, very thick gauge, and I was even wondering, so it looks like I am going to be able to open them. Look at these beautiful little components. That is so fun and so dimensional. Oh my goodness. I think it's prettier when it's, out of the busyness of this piece. But like I said, I really actually liked this necklace. And I think what I'm going to do is just take one of my little dishes here and just, as I disconnect, just put things in the little dish so that when I start designing with it, I have all my components handy. And I'm trying to open them without damaging them because I think I want to reuse them. The gold matches all of the other gold in the piece. I think I got it that time. So there's another one. So I'm just going to keep going, disconnecting all of these pieces. This piece, as I'm taking it apart, I guess I hadn't paid attention, but it has a really nice little extender chain here, a curb chain, and the little charm is on the end of that. So I think I'm actually going to leave that, and I am going to just reconnect. This all looks great. I don't have to do anything to this except I will put an anti-tarnish coating, but honestly, as I'm feeling it and looking at it, I'm kind of thinking that it might already have an anti-tarnish coating on it. So now that I've taken it all apart, I can see that my cuff bracelet design, and I'm just going to play with these components a little bit. I could do it that way. I could do it this way. I have to just play with it. And then this is going to be for my other necklace. But that is so pretty. I could even connect that way and put a bar in the middle, and that's what I think I'm going to do. I am so excited. I am going to pause and go gather up a few more supplies. I want some beads to make my bead stations here, and I'm just going to probably get some wires, some jump rings, and some things to kind of work off the sketches I did in my sketchbook. So I'm just going to pause. It'll be a second for you, and I'll be right back to continue. All 3 pieces that I'm going to get from taking apart this necklace are all designed. They look a little bit different than my sketchbook. I'll start with this one because I am going to recycle this chain that came on the piece right back into this design. And what I did is took 3 lengths of 20 gauge wire in gold with the anti-tarnish coating on it, and I did 3 different eye pins with, well, double eye pins with a loop on each end. I did a short, a medium, and a long, and I've just like connected those to the middle of this. And then my chain is going to go here, and the beads that I've chosen for this, since I'm doing a 2024 vibe, what's on trend, I decided to go in the tones of the Peach Fuzz Pantone color of the year. So I have these beautiful etched, satin etched beads. So that's going to be kind of my main bead for my bracelet and my necklace. I also had these Peach Magma 8mm beads in my stash. I also had these faceted rondelles in the Peach Magma, so they may make their way in. I put a little bit of everything in the dish, and I have these beautiful little, what are they called? These are from Potomac Beads. It's an apricot AB, and it's a 4x8 ingot bead. It's a crystal faceted bead, and I think those are going to make their way into my beaded chain. And so this is what I pulled out, and I am going to create most of these components off camera, because this is going to be beaded chain with simple loops, and it's going to be very repetitive. I will check back in. I'm going to get most of the work done off camera. For my third necklace, I will be making the entire beaded chain myself. And I have these, this is what I have left over. I also have 2 more of these connectors. So I may use all 4 in the chain. I haven't really decided, because I haven't started making the chain yet, and I realize I'm out of camera. So I decided to go to the opposite end of the color wheel from the peach and do the accent color, which puts me in the blues. And so I have these beautiful check glass bicones, and I cannot remember where I got these. It might be a Potomac Beads item. It looks like maybe that's their code, but it's a Capri Sapphire. It's an 8mm bicone, and I also have these from a local bead shop that I go to. These are check glass, and these are the same color as those bicones, but this is a cathedral bead with this beautiful gold on the end, and I just absolutely love a cathedral bead. And I think it's sort of contemporary, and I just felt like the little gold on the ends, I felt like it went with the pieces. For me, this is like a contemporary tassel, because you have like your down bars, your geometric shapes and lines here. So I'm going to use these 2 beads and create something similar, and I'll do that together with you, but I'm going to set this third project aside until I get to it, and I'm going to focus on my bracelet. So in my sketch, I had decided to do my bracelet with 3 strands, but I think that's going to be just a little bit too busy for me, and I really want to update this. So I just had some little gold connectors that I had already made in my bag of gold wire scraps, and I was just playing with the idea of creating some, seed bead got away, creating some bars, and like that. These aren't the right length, but just to give you a visual. That's my idea. It'll be some jump ring connecting, and then this will feed into a single strand. And right here I already have 7 inches, so then I just have to decide on a clasp, and this will all be like simple loops. So this is what this looks like. I will be using my 1-step looper for that. I am just using 20 gauge gold wire, and I believe this is from Beadalon. And I've decided on most of these components to use the 2 1/4 inch 1-step looper. I may switch to my 3mm 1-step looper for the beaded chain, just because it moves more freely. I'll know more when I start working on it. And for those of you who have never seen this tool or don't have it or interested in how it works, when I have a lot of components to make, this saves my hand from a huge arthritis flare-up. So when there's no beads on the wire, you just put the wire under the mandrel and just place it ever so slightly past the back jaw of the tool, and you can skip the step of giving yourself a clean blunt cut on your wire because this tool does that step for you. So all in one movement, it gives you a cut end. It is so tiny, like it's so, I don't even know if I could do that clean of a cut with my pliers. Then when I close it all the way, the tool has already made the loop, and then I just pull the wire down, and that gives me a chance to straighten and warm if I want to bring in my nylon jaw pliers and kind of make sure that I'm starting with a perfectly straight piece of wire. I can do that. I've got a little bit of length here, but because I have so many components to make. But now at this point, I can see that that loop is right in the center of the wire. And when I open the tool, I got an absolutely perfect, simple loop. And since I have so many to make, what I really love about this is that all throughout all my pieces, every single loop will really be pretty exact. You know, there's the human hand-eye thing when you're doing it with pliers. It's, for me at least, I'm not super consistent when I have to make a bunch, plus I will have an arthritis flare-up from all the twisting. So some people hate this tool, and other people, I think they have it, and I think maybe they don't know how to use it, and that's why they hate it. But with a little bit of practice, it can really save your hand and speed up your work. And what I do also when I have a lot of loops to make is I don't keep putting the tool down. I just swing it out of my way, and then, like you see, thread my bead on, and then swing it back in position and put my tool back in where my bead is. And I like to back away from my bead like a millimeter or so, and then just really slowly close the tool. It makes the cut for you. And then before I close down, I just want to pull my bead and wire out of the jaw of the plier, and then I can close it all the way. And at this point, if I ever feel like, this one's pretty good, but if I ever feel like I need to straighten anything, I have control to do that. And when I take my tool away, that's what I have. Perfect little component. And since I have quite a few of these to make, this is going to really save my hand. So this comes in 3 sizes for those of you who are new to jewelry making. The 2 1/4 is really the sweet size that I use the most. But if I'm making small drops, you know, or small dangles, let's see, do I have anything? Oh, like for instance, the bracelet that I'm wearing. These have the 1.5 millimeter simple loops at the base of these little flower dangles because I wanted them to be particularly small. So all 3 sizes really come in handy. The 3 millimeter makes an even larger loop than this component, and it is great for beaded chain because with the larger loop, the larger circumference, you get a more flexible, you know, more fluid chain. So I love all 3 sizes of this. I can link them below. If you hate that tool or you don't have it, you can totally do these projects with your pliers. I do simple loops with my pliers too, but as I said, I have a lot to make here. So I am going to connect, and I also just wanted to tell you I put out some 8O seed beads. They're check glass, and they are in a matte gold. And the reason that I did that, I went through so many of my seed beads. I plan on creating a little beaded chain for this necklace, and I want to use this ingot bead, and so I really liked alternating the matte and the sparkle of this crystal for this piece, because when I make these components, they'll look similar to this. I'm going to add some extra beads, but this bead with the pattern on it is also matte. So for me, I'm just alternating the sparkle and the matte in this piece. So I'm going to make a whole bunch of little connectors or components off camera and come back and show you this fabulous redesign. I have been working away. I have made all my components that I will need for these two projects, and I have sort of modified one side of my necklace by adding in my crystal ingot beads and my little patterned frosted glass beads, and that added some extra length to my chain. And I'm kind of doing the two projects in tandem, this bracelet and this, because I played with my bars on here and I did not like the way that this laid as a bracelet. This way, with the chain and the extra links, it has kind of turned out to be like a really chic, elegant, contemporary, it just feels like runway inspired jewelry. But I had to kind of shift from the necklace to this piece to see if I was going to have enough extra chain to create these two little sections on the bracelet. So I'm kind of doing these two projects in tandem. And then my third piece that's going to have those beautiful blue check glass beads, I have everything set aside for that, but I'm kind of borrowing chain for this and kind of working between the two. But I'm absolutely thrilled with the way these pieces are turning out. I have created this little chain with those ingot beads and my seed beads, and just because I didn't want to have extra things dangling from these loops, and I did not want to remove the loops because I didn't want to compromise the metal, so I just did that as a little embellishment there. And then I started with my little pattern here and made all these components just simple loops with the 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper, and I'm ready really to just connect. So what we can do is finish this necklace piece together, and then I'll show you how I did these connections with double jump rings and the way that I worked out to add in the chain. So I'm just going to set the bracelet aside as well as the jump rings. I do need to make some extra jump rings, so I'm going to do that first before I move over to connecting that. And I just thought I would do that on camera because I know there's a lot of newer people to jewelry making, and I've done this many times before, but for the newer people, I'm just going to do it because I needed some jump rings. And I always make extras and keep them in a little small bag, and then I keep them in the bag with the wire. So I know that they're anti-tarnish wire, that they're 20 gauge. I know exactly what my jump rings are. I also opted not to use all of the jump rings that I removed from the project. They were just super thick, and they're not really tarnished, I guess. But I don't know, they look a little worn to me, and so I just decided to make my own since I needed more than what I disconnected, and that way all the jump rings through the whole piece are consistent. So I'm going to use the smallest side of this 6-step bail making plier, and this is just a simple coiling motion. I'm going to start off by pulling that wire down so that I don't feel it, and just get a little rotation going, and I just push the hold the wire or push it against my finger and just turn the bail making plier, just turn turn, and I'll do, I cut a little length of wire here, and I'll just do as many extras, as many as I need. I actually only needed one more, but I'll do these extra ones and then I'll have them ready. Because I may actually need them for my third project with this redesign. I'm getting so exciting I really love the way the pieces are looking, but it's also exciting to take a piece that I actually started out liking and update it into 3 pieces, 3 really wearable, really like current stylish pieces. It's really exciting. So don't worry if your coils are not as tight as mine. I'm very well practiced at this, and yours may not be. You still get good jump rings from it. And then I'm just going to come down to this end where I started to coil, and with the flush side of my cutter, I'm just going to cut straight through this coil in as straight of a line as I possibly can. And I try to just snip one ring at a time. I try not to get too ahead of myself. Sometimes my cutter will grab onto 2 jump rings, but I don't try to do that. And honestly, you guys, look how perfect. Like, whoops, these are little ones. They are so beautiful. My jump rings have a better look to them and often close better than the commercially mass-produced made ones. So I really like to make my own jump rings. So now I have a head start on jump rings for my next project as well, but I think I needed like 7 or 8 to complete the bracelet. But before we do the bracelet together, I just wanted to show you what I did to modify this chain and customize it and make it so artisan. It's super simple, but I wanted to do this first so that I can actually see how much length will be left and how much chain I have to borrow for this other project. So let me set those little jump rings aside, and then I'm just going to take like a little scrap of wire for getting my links right. And so there are 6 of these links in between each bead station. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to confess, I cut my 7th link. I had cut 3 of them before I realized that this chain, let me show you, let me get my pliers. This chain is not a solid link. So I didn't see it right away because it's such high quality fashion jewelry because of the thickness of the links and the texture and how well every single link was closed. I actually cut a few and lost them before I realized that I can open my links. So I'm going to go ahead and cut as I move up the same way that I did on this side because I still think I'm going to have plenty left over. But I felt so bad because, you know, it's vintage chain and I didn't realize that I could open it. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to cut this 7th one. And as I said, if I had known, I would have just opened it, but I didn't realize that until I'd made a few cuts. And just to make it easy and make sure that both sides match, I'm going to go ahead and do the cuts. This is super simple, and because I have simple loops on these components, this part is really easy. I'm just going to open the simple loop and attach that last link, and that puts 6 chain links before the bead component starts. And same thing on this side, just open that simple loop and thread on that link of chain and make sure that loop is closed really well. And then I did the same thing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to cut this 7th link. This chain is even, like, it's such high quality. It's a little bit difficult to cut. I don't know if it's brass underneath here, but I really love this vintage piece. I think this was a true find, and I haven't been to my Goodwill jewelry area in quite some time, and working on this piece has been so much fun that it's making me want to go and check out what has landed at Goodwill since I was last there. I love thrift shopping. I try not to overwhelm myself with projects that need to be redone when I go shopping like this. I try to look for like really special pieces, 1 or 2, and really focus on them and not just get piles and piles of old jewelry. You know, that's kind of the way I look at it. I scrutinize my choices and my purchases very well. So I'm just going to continue up that way until I get to the end of the chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And cut this 7th that I opened. I can just add it back in somewhere. Okay, so now I can determine, I have my extender chain and the other piece from this side, I have it taken off, and I'm just going to pull out of the camera and just get my length just right. I think that is going to give me more than enough. I only needed 8 links. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only needed 8 links for my bracelet, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to remove the 16 links that I need. So I'll show you again. There's 8 links here and 8 links there, and that's all I need to borrow. So I'm going to do that. So this beautiful redesign, updated piece is done, and I just love it. I love the length. I paused and tried it on. I just think it is a beautiful piece. It's like just a quiet statement piece and really contemporary and elegant. I just love all the little details of it. And so now we can, since I stole 8 links from the back of the chain here, 16 links, 8 for each side, we can connect the bracelet. So I'm going to do the same thing, give you a close-up look of this side. This is just simple connecting, opening and closing jump rings. I did do the double jump ring method there. I do that on my bracelets a lot. So like if you can see on this one, I did the double jump ring for the toggle clasp. It adds security, but it just adds like beautiful structure to your piece. So this is a simple matter of connecting, opening and closing the simple loops and jump rings. And in this case, I discovered that I can even open and close my chain links as well. So that is nice for this piece. It's a bit of a puzzle. So if you don't like puzzles, you would probably not enjoy this project, but I had a lot of fun taking apart the vintage piece and then playing with the elements and reconnecting it in a little bit more updated way. I just really enjoyed it. So what I did on the other side is add a jump ring here, and I just did it for making the piece really malleable and fluid around my wrist. This top section is rigid, and I like that because it's giving the cuff look, but then on the side, down the side of the wrist and on the back part of the wrist, it kind of wraps around softly, and I like that. I was trying to get a hold of this jump ring to close it all the way like that. Okay, and I do the other side. Okay, so this is just really this here. What I did is opened my simple loop on this component and stacked the 2 ends of the chain, the last 2 links, and then I added jump rings for the orientation. So let's see, I think I do have a link here that's open a little bit. I do. So since this link is open a little bit, I'll open this. That's the nice thing about this project is pretty much everything opens, so that makes the connecting a little bit easier. Okay, and then I'm going to do this side the same. I think this link is also open. Yeah, this is where I borrowed these from the length of the back part of the necklace, so they're open a bit. The same that I did on the other side. And it looks like that. And now I have to have 1 jump ring at the very bottom of where I just connected those chains, and then I will do a double jump ring going into the connector. And sometimes on a piece like this, where, as I said, it's a bit of a puzzle, sometimes I just leave it on the mat to do my connecting, because that way I can see where I've been in my connections and see where I'm going. So let me just hold it up so you can see. So I have that little jump ring hanging out. And the reason I did that is I needed that part to be horizontal to my beading mat. And then these 2 jump rings that are going to go in here will be perpendicular, or kind of going up and down from my beading mat. So that makes everything on the bracelet lay nicely. It's just that orientation. That is a beautiful connection. Okay, and now we need to keep going. I'm going to repeat the same thing that I did over there. Okay, let's try this on. That is so beautiful. Look at that. Oh, so now it is absolutely perfect. I removed the two links and it is absolutely perfect, and now it really does look like a contemporary cuff, and I like how the chain has a little bit of movement. It is stunning, and it really goes great with my necklace. And now I have ended up, well, I shouldn't say that because I still have 4 links left over, but I am going to start making the beaded chain for my third piece. And I love there was only one of these dimensional connectors on the piece, but I thought I was going to be using all of these links in these pieces and ended up not. So I actually have 2, 4, I have 6 left over. I could actually make another bracelet with these or add them into my necklace. I have to play because my plan is to make a contrast, like an opposite color wheel of our Pantone color of the year. So I love these. I just love the shape of these. I love these glass bicone beads, and I love these cathedral beads. And so I have to cut them open, because in my experience, you never design anything or come up with anything until you cut the beads off their strands. It's just a thing. I release the beads and then I'll start designing. So I'm going to take all of these cathedral beads off of this strand. These are from a wholesale place here in Orlando. Whenever I see cathedral beads, it's a pretty expensive cut. Cathedral beads, turbine beads, they're also called, I think, crown, this cut, but it's quite difficult. There's table cutting involved, as well as the like the shapes on both ends, so they're not always easy to find, but I just love the blue with the peachy tones, and I like to mix them together. So I am going to do the same thing that I did here, create a whole bunch of simple components, a beaded chain, and come up with a third piece. I just have to decide if it's going to be a necklace and a bracelet. I didn't realize I was going to have so many of these links left over, and I'm thrilled because I really love them. And the worst thing that as I get going on this third piece, I'll decide if they're going to go back into my stash or if they're going to be used. So I'm going to grab my 3mm one-step looper and some more of this 20 gauge gold wire that I've used in all these pieces, and make a lot of the components ahead of time off camera, because it's like watching grass grow. And I will come back and we'll connect everything and look at my final collection. I can't believe all the beautiful pieces that I'm getting from one vintage piece. So exciting. I'll just be a second for you and I'll be right back. It has been a week since I paused to make all of these components. But I'm back. I'm finishing this project today. I'm so excited about it as well. I was making all the components and kind of working out with the links of my vintage piece what I would be able to create and what I would have for the necklace and for a bracelet if I was even doing both. And as you can see, I did do both. I got this beautiful little bracelet using 4 of the links, and just in between each of those links I created a little check glass cathedral bead component. And it is a really simple bracelet. I do feel like I want to add a charm to it, and it's going to be a handmade charm, and I'll show you that because I'm going to also do 2 of them for the necklace. And so I've made a bunch of components and I connected one side. And so for the necklace, I was always using this dimensional part of the upcycled piece. And then I was able to rescue 2 of the links to just kind of add in to my beaded chain that I'm making. So it kind of looks like this. This is one side of it where, and I have worked so hard to make sure that all of my links were closed perfectly. And I picked this up to share it with you, and the very first one I see is not closed perfectly. So I like to do really good quality beaded chains. So anyway, this is what it looks like. I decided to alternate the beads that I was using in the other pieces. So I have that little Magma AB faceted rondelle, and then the cathedral bead, and then the check glass bicone bead, and it just goes on like that. And after I made all the components, I also made a huge batch of these jump rings. These are, I think these are 10mm jump rings. I really don't know. I grabbed my favorite bail making plier and made a bunch of them because I wanted this to be light, not super bead heavy, so I could get my length of my chain this way without a lot of extra beads. And so I'm really liking the way that looks. And so I just need to connect this side. Oh, and one other thing to share. Again, I didn't really want to use my beautiful check glass beads behind my neck. And also, as I said, didn't want it to be heavy with beads. So I decided to add a little bit of length to the back with just connecting jump rings, and it just looks like a really pretty circle chain. And I may add more when I'm all done connecting. And I think I may even do one side with double the amount of jump rings as I do on the other side, and then put a little dangle on the very last one, so it will be an extender chain. So there'll be wearable options, which for a piece like this is really nice, because depending on what you have on, you may want this drop to go lower, like below a collar or a v-neck, or you may want to pull it up closer to your neck. So an extender chain and adjustability is really good in a design like this. So the drop here, I have been working on it. I think I'm going to switch to, just again, I'm alternating cathedral bead, bicone bead, and whoops, I wanted to have one of these little peach magma ABs in between each other. So if you'll see that I've alternated the colors, I don't have like two blues stacked on top or two of the peaches. And I had one of these patterned glass beads left, and I just love it. I think it's so beautiful. I'm sure that it is much prettier in person than the camera lenses is portraying, but I wanted that to be my final drop on my little pendant here. And so I was playing with making my own head pin, a spiral head pin with a bead in the center, encased in the center. And I've just been playing with different sizes. I've done 2 of them. And so I was thinking that I would do one for a charm on my bracelet, but look how pretty this is for the bottom of the necklace. I really like that. So, and then I did a smaller one, and I think this might be my little charm that's going to go on my extender chain on the back of the necklace. It's a really fun way to make a head pin, and what I used is some check glass drucks that I had left over from another project. So I'm going to get one more of these out and show you what I did. And I'm going to preface this little design by saying you must be careful not to break your beads. And so for some of you, you may find this a little bit tedious if you're not much of a wire worker. I am able to do it, and I don't find it difficult. And I'll kind of show you what I did in order to encase that little tiny glass bead in the wire. So I've been using this 20 gauge wire throughout, and I've been using my 1-step looper so that all of my loops on my components are really consistent. And so what I do to start this little beaded head pin is take my round nose pliers, and I'm going to go to the end of a little length of the 20 gauge wire and just kind of put a little bit of a start of a circle in there, and then I'm going to thread on this little bead. And nylon jaw pliers are really wonderful in a thing like this. So it kind of looks like that, and that's going to be the center of the spiral. And you just have to be patient because there's not a lot to hold on to when you get started. So, but you want to get your little spiral going without putting pressure on the bead. So if you can grab this and bend it, then you can come in either with your pliers or your nylon jaw pliers. You know, you just want to like get the the wire gently around the bead without putting any stress on the bead. So it looks something like that. And now you just have to find a little spot. Bent chain nose pliers are really great for this. Just find a spot to grab onto and get a good grip on it and start your spiral. And it's the same as when we do other spirals where you're just pushing against your skin and just letting that wire just lay around the bead. And you know, like you'll see you'll see if you're going to give this a try. It's a little challenging when you get it started, but once you get a couple of rounds of wire around your bead, it's much easier, and it just starts to be more and more beautiful with every turn. So I've already got mine going pretty well, and now I have a place that my plier can grab onto, and I've done the whole thing without putting any stress on my bead. Also, this is a little 4mm druck. It is quite small. So if you are concerned about your ability to do this, maybe try it with a larger bead, like a 6mm, because that would give you more space to, you know, land your pliers. So I just have gone around and around until I was happy with the look that I had. And I am going to, let's see, I want to make this one as big as possible because I wanted a larger one for this patterned bead. So I'm going to probably just use up the whole little length of that wire and just leave myself enough space to make my loop. So that looks really, really good to me. And now I just need to decide, where do I want my bead going, up and down like that, or I think I'm going to go here and just get another like 1/4 of a turn. So this is going to be my spot that I create my head pin. So I'm just going to slip my plier to my wire there, and right where I want it to become a head pin, bend that up just like that. And it is so pretty. I really like it. And you know what I did on my other ones, if I wanted to tidy anything up, and just so that I don't mar my wire, because I'm not going to hammer this as I sometimes do my spirals, because there's a bead in there and I don't want to take a chance on smashing my bead. So there is that little cool artisan head pin, a spiral with a bead in the center. I absolutely love it. And then look at that, it's so pretty. That's going to be such a lovely drop. And I don't like, there's really no front or back, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to, I could do a wrapped loop here, but I honestly think, let's see, I think I have to concern myself with the orientation. I may even take that one out. I'm going to do a simple loop here. I'm just going to bend that wire back, and I'm going to do a fairly large one. Trim that and just roll this. Just roll this back into a simple loop. I have used my one-step looper on everything else, but I'm just going to get this one in there like that. And now when I get ready to connect everything, I just have to decide, I think I do want this blue one here. I'm going to connect this and also connect all of my segments for the other side of this piece. And when I'm all done, I'll come back and decide if I want to make my focal drop any bigger than it is, or add jump rings. I may even add jump rings to this. I'm just going to connect it for now and save that little component that is made. And so my front little part of my necklace is looking really great. Look at that. It's so pretty. I really love it. Okay, so you zoom us back out, And the rest of this project is literally connect, 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 except for one thing. I am going to make my own little hook clasp for this end as well, because I don't know if you noticed, but my magnetic clasp is not quite the same gold. The 20 gauge wire that I'm using matches these vintage components perfectly, but I went through every magnetic clasp and every toggle in my stash, and that was the closest gold match that I could find. And it's not perfect. I can live with it, but it's not perfect. And so I decided on my necklace to just use the same wire and make a little clasp. They're really fast to make. I'll show you what I do. So this part, connect, connect, connect. I'm going to start right here. And I used a jump ring that I made in between every single component. So it's super easy. Just start connecting. I laid my beads out in the pattern that I did on the other side. And so I'm just going to do this slowly, nicely, make sure every single jump ring is closed really well and smooth, and that it's a perfect circle. I'm going to complete the length of my necklace with, you know, a jump ring chain, and if that's a thing, and I want to do one side with a few extra links, you know, maybe 5. I like odd numbers, and just so it's adjustable. So let me, I'll finish this. I'll finish the jump ring connections because this is just simple opening and closing, and I just, you know, take my time and make sure that everything is smooth. And so let me cut another little piece of my wire and make some more jump rings and a little hook for the end. So for a little hook, you don't need very much wire. That's probably, I don't like to short myself just so that I don't struggle with making my hook. But I am going to start the same way that we start any spiral, just with a little loop. And I do need this to be a bit of an open spiral because I have to have a spot for a jump ring to fit into the spiral to connect it to my chain. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of a loose beginning there, and you can always go back and, you know, make adjustments to the spiral. But I'm also probably not going to hammer this one. I normally do like to hammer my little spiral hooks, but this one, this is not a heavy necklace, and since I have the same wire unhammered throughout the whole piece, in this particular case I think it's going to look better just not hammered. So I'm just going to check my scale of my hook. I think I'm going to give it another time around before I actually create the hook. And I need a little spot, of course, and make a little spot for my jump ring, which that would be perfect. So I think I'm going to stop right there, and now I'm going to make a really dramatic, really dramatic swoop, you know, like a swooping hook. So I'm just going to use the back part of my round nose pliers. Let me see how it's looking, and I'm just going to fold it over the barrel of that plier. And you can make adjustments however it lands. I always need to, and I want to put a little decorative, like in fact, let me grab I love my Xuron crimping pliers, oddly enough, because the tip is so tiny when I just want like a decorative, tiny little bend in the wire. It really accomplishes it perfectly. I mean, look how small, it's so great. But I am okay with that one. I like it. It's closed really nicely, and I have a spot here for my jump ring. And so that can go, in fact, I made some smaller jump rings, and I'm going to transition from the jump rings that are, have become my chain, just so that it looks more like a chain. I'm going to switch to some tiny little jump rings for adding the clasp. I have a few. I might even use that one. So let's see. I have like 3 different millimeter sizes here, and I made these up in advance with my different bail making pliers. So I can't really tell you what size they are, but I am altering just so that it looks purposeful and, not like a jump ring chain, but like an actual chain. Does that make any sense? Sometimes it is so hard to sort of explain what your design idea is. And something else that I like to do if there is space when I'm doing this is add a second jump ring. You don't really need it for security, although it does add some. It's mostly for looks. These are so small, but it looks really good. And I did have space on my clasp that I made, so I'm going to do it. And see, that looks so pretty. It's simple, it's fast, it's an inexpensive clasp. And now when I get all of these jump rings connected, this will be an easy on and back off to connecting at the back of my neck. So let me also I did cut some wire to make some more jump rings. Okay, and now I think I am going to use this little dangle that I made for the charm at the end of my extender chain. So I'm going to just make a simple loop and a pretty small one. Trim that away and just make this little spiral into a charm. Okay, there's that little handmade piece. Still have to fuss with things. Okay, and I'm going to attach this also with a small tiny jump ring, just to, add a little something instead of putting it right on that larger one. Use this other small jump ring and put it right on the end. So it really just gives it the look of a purposeful extender chain, and not like just a bunch of jump rings connected, which is a simple, elegant design, but we want it to look good. So my little back of my necklace looks like that, and I can hook my clasp anywhere that I want and have this pretty little charm dangling at the back of my neck. So this piece is really done and beautiful. It is long as usual, so Gabriella Eva will have to get to her modeling work as soon as I am finished filming. But I have this one other little charm to make, and I was debating, I think I do want to have a bead on this one because I just think that looks so pretty. And since this bracelet it's stunning, but it's pretty plain, I think that's going to add a little something. Never seen this before. I am hooking the jump ring over the wire and not going through the loop, and I'll show you what that does. I'll add my charm and close this really well, and I'll show you what that does. I started doing this a while back, and when I'm adding a charm or a dangle to a piece, I love the freedom and the movement and the fluidity that I get on my charms, where they don't get kinked or stuck, because when you attach that way, no matter which way your bracelet goes on your arm or which way you connect it, your charm moves around 180 degrees. It's very fluid, and so you never get like a piece. And I do it on all of them. I do it well, this one wouldn't, this one is on the wire, but I do it on all my charms. Like this one, even though it is waxed cord, I did my jump ring over the cord. So this charm, no matter which way I clasp my bracelet, this charm can spin around 180 degrees. And it just, when you're wearing them, it's just nice. It's just a detail, but it just really is nice the way that it moves on your wrist and hangs so beautifully. So guys, this is so exciting. Even though it took me a week to get back to this video, this is so exciting to me, what I was able to do with one Goodwill vintage piece of jewelry. I got this stunning necklace. I absolutely love how lightweight it is, but at the same time, it's a really beautiful statement piece. I got this bracelet. I got this stunning necklace. Look at this one. I love that. I recycled the chain and everything in that one, and I got a very on-trend cuff bracelet out of this piece as well. I love this too. So I was able to get 4 beautiful, really elegant, really updated, on trend. They look like 2024. They don't look like the 70s anymore. And all of that from one upcycled vintage piece that may have ended up in the garbage. So this is a fabulous, successful, I've done work that I'm proud of. I think this was a successful redesign / upcycle project, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you found some inspiration. It's really fun to go get a coffee and pop into thrift stores or Goodwill and see what they have. And as I said earlier in my video, I don't like to have a lot of junk that I have to take apart and deal with, but I do like to go find a piece, a special piece, or something that speaks to me in some way, and have that and work on it. I really enjoy that. So that's what I did here, and I hope that you found inspiration or picked up a little technique, and I hope everyone is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry making friends.